Well, it's amazing to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. So we always start in the same way. I've got some quick fire questions for you just to test that you're one of us and human. So if you're ready, we will kick off.
So I'm the only one who gets the questions, like in the hot seat? Okay.
What was your favorite age?
18, because I was out of college. I was in college, so yes, I think I had most fun that time.
Yeah, amazing. What would we find on your nightstand?
Books. I've got several of them, but I'm not reading any.
That's a common answer.
I don't know, it's to do with the age, but it just happens that you get them and I don't end up like finishing any. Just like they're there, all there.
They look good. That's enough.
They just look good.
Give us a snapshot of an everyday small joy for you.
Small joy. I think time with my 10-year-old boy. Yeah, I think that's my happy time.
That's lovely. Amazing. Thank you so much, Shoba, for partaking. I'm going to hand over to you and then we'll have an opportunity for any particular questions or discuss anything. And if there's anything we can't help you with, we will aim to take that away and help you find the right person. So thank you, Shoba.
Yes. So thanks, Jay. And it's so lovely to meet Viviana, Kim, Laurie, and Naima, if I'm saying the name correctly. So what do I say about me? I've been a project manager for over a decade now. I think I'm in this profession for 15 years and I'm still learning. I started with client servicing and I was doing events. I love events, so much so that I'm in Dubai, but I do like organize community events for product school or user groups for Atlassian software. And that's because I just love the entire work that is involved in creating these events and the behind the scenes before you go for a big launch. So I'm actually happy to meet all of you and also learn from your experiences. In terms of what I am doing, I started my career with client servicing. I was working with a telecom company, Vodafone, where I was resolving customer complaints that were escalated. And I did that for quite some time and I accidentally got into project management. So the next job that I took up was from client servicing. I joined a publishing company that provided end-to-end solutions for books and journals. And that was my first time actually doing projects, because when it comes to a book, from the author to the editorial team to the publisher, there are a lot of things involved. Like there are phases that are involved, getting the graphics, putting the artwork, coordinating the final files with the printer. And it's all about having certain things in flow because you're talking to multiple people with different expertise to actually make sure that you can get this book, ready for launch and printed and out, in the market. And that was my experience or exposure with starting with projects. But to tell you all, I didn't know how to do, I still don't know how to do pagination or pre-press files or revisions. I was just working with the authors and to get their inputs, pass it on to the editorial team, getting their feedback and coordinate with different people to just put this book together. And that's what, in my mind, it was all about having this book out in the market and not actually doing the technical work involved in, creating that. And honestly, I didn't have any formal education as well in project management, but after some time with this publishing company, I moved on to a consulting firm, Accenture. And that's when I did my PMP certification. Because the level of projects, so based on the experience that I had in my publishing field, the kind of projects that were given to me were just something I would not imagine that at that point of time that I was capable to do. Like I was sitting in India and actually launching distributor loyalty programs in Latin America. I was working on launching portals or websites in 44 countries for one very big FMCG group. And honestly, I have to tell you, I did not feel easy at the start. It's not easy because you're talking to a lot of people. But in the end, it's about the skills that you have in kind of connecting all the dots or the teams together in defining a plan. So I worked on that, and with experience in that, when I came to Dubai, Property Finder is the company that I joined next in 2013. They were a startup in UAE. We had a team of 3 developers, like software engineers, and rest of the sales function. And the projects that we had to work on was actually having the startup rolled out in the other GCC markets, like Qatar, Bahrain, and Saudi. And till date, I don't know to write a single line of code. And I have to say that was exciting in terms of actually like rolling out this startup that was there in different other markets based on a structure that we call project management to have it live in other markets. And I was there for some time, and then I took on a new challenge, which is Salesforce. I don't know if you're familiar with Salesforce. So, okay, I know Salesforce is used by every company back, like any big or small enterprises, they use a customer relationship management tool. And here I was again involved doing business transformation projects for the fintech industry. So I worked with, having processes set up in Salesforce for banks or insurance companies. And during this role, I learned Salesforce. I learned how to like work on Salesforce and do the admin setup. And it was something that I learned on the job to kind of work on the projects that I had to deliver. And I came back to my previous company, and now I'm working now I'm working in the food tech industry. So I work with Talabat. That's again, it's a food delivery business that is in 7 countries. And I do something similar. I manage cross-functional projects wherein I'm involved in not just like software delivery, but kind of rolling out new features or services in different markets that we are present in, working with multiple teams. And so when I do get this question often from the people that, are aspiring to get into project management, or, when I need to be hired, that if you don't have technical skills, or do you need technical skills to kind of manage projects? And my answer to that is seeing my journey and the kind of projects that I have worked in, I do not see having technical skills as a must. And the reason is because technical skills are related to your expertise, background, education, or knowledge in a certain domain. Whereas project management is a completely different generalist kind of role, wherein you're working on discovery, like initiating your projects, planning the entire, structure around how you can make things work together. Executing it, constantly monitoring the progress towards what you want to get ready or deliver. And yes, and then kind of learning on the success and, if it's failed, taking corrective actions and changing accordingly. So it all depends on the complexity and size of the projects that you manage. And so far in my experience, I have never seen 2 projects that are the same, because when it comes to projects, they involve people and not just like technical people. It also involves business, it involves marketing, it involves the end user who's actually going to be using the service. It is so you would have come across many titles like IT coordinator, Scrum Master, project manager, program manager. But however, if you look at the big picture, the core skill set is actually getting the job done and making things, facilitating things, defining the way of working to ensure that the core project is successfully delivered and meets the outcomes. And fun fact, honestly, there is no study or survey that is available that says that technical project managers are more productive or efficient when it comes to delivering projects. So I haven't come across any such research, or maybe I'm not aware, but I've not seen that. And so kind of the skill sets that I own, I can say I'm an expert in project management, not a technical, but with this experience that I have, I feel comfortable and confident to kind of manage any project that would come to me. So it could be something weird as building a bridge. I think if I have the right expertise, maybe if I have an engineer with me who can kind of help me plan the dependencies, it's something we can put together. So yes, as in this is my experience and what I've done. And yeah, let me know, what do you think about it and your questions. I don't want to keep talking about myself, but yeah, I'm happy to share like anything that would help. And then we can take it from there.
Thank you so much, Shoba. That was incredible. Whilst the others are thinking on their questions, I have a question for you. I have two questions. My first question is, how have you managed your own confidence when going into industries or topic areas or content that you are not necessarily initially familiar with? How do you manage that process of kind of not only having the confidence, but getting to a point where you feel comfortable in those environments?
Jay, that's honestly a question that it's so close to, I don't know how to put this, but I did share with you and I let the others know. So I was made redundant during the recent COVID-19, and it kind of made me think like, like I knew everything. I was in my job for like 6 years managing projects. I knew everyone. And now I'm in a business that's growing. It has over 2,000 people. And I'm made to manage like critical projects. So I'm coming from a place where I know everything to a new industry where I don't know things or I'm learning. And one thing that I have to say is, that works for me in my case. Instead of saying, I don't know, I say, I don't know yet. So I don't know if that makes sense in English, but I just say, I don't know yet, I'll learn it. So it's kind of just that one word, I find it powerful enough. It just changes your thinking. You may not know everything, but nothing stops you from learning it. And I think with the field that we are in, it's so dynamic. You're constantly learning new things. As in, there are no projects similar. We always learn lessons learned from our previous experiences, from previous projects to, deliver well. But the kind of work that we do, no days, like you will not have, every day will look different. So that's what helps me. I'm always thinking like, okay, I don't know yet. Someone comes with a question to me and I'm like, okay, I don't know this yet, but I'll kind of figure it out and I'll work on it. So
amazing. Thank you so much, Shoba. Yeah, that really kind of speaks to me. And I think a lot of what you said really speaks to events professionals as well. We're very familiar with that kind of, no 2 days are the same. So there's lots of transferable things. My other question before I hand over to anyone else is, in terms of project management as a career path, what has been beneficial for you, do you think, being in this industry? And especially considering, your recent redundancy and kind of getting a job, what has been the benefit of having project management as a skill set and as a career path for you?
Honestly, for me, project management, like even to find a job, I use project management. Uh, I actually laid out a plan on how I can get to my next job. So project management is something wherein I'm obsessed with it. I see everything as a project, and it's a way as in you're constantly learning, right? So for me, it's more about just putting the structure in place, like how I'm going to approach this and going with it. And in terms of, so there are a lot of credentials available that kind of prove your expertise in terms of career path. Like there's PMP, there's Scrum certification. You can APM, Prince 2, like I come across various credentials, but in the end, in terms of a career path, you need to introspect and find out where does your passion lie in, because you will not, if you're not excited about it, you cannot really do it. Because at the end of the day, when you are working in IT or a software background, you're going to be working with people who are experts in that domain or have more knowledge. But if it's something like, if you're comfortable with not taking the credit when things work out and actually taking on the blame when things don't work out, then this is a job for you. But that's the thing. In terms of a career path, there are a lot of industries where tech is constant, right? Like you can get into anything. Like for example, Salesforce. It's a skill that can be picked up by anyone, and you can specialize and become a Salesforce related project manager and work on different accounts. So you need to find out what is of your interest. Like for example, there are security related projects, but I am not interested in cybersecurity, so I would not really pick up that field. So in terms of pursuing your career path, find out your interest and then just seek opportunities in that field.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Shoba? Feel free to take yourself off mute and pose a question. Oh, we've got one here from Laurie. So I've recently completed my Agile Foundation and also Scrum qualifications. And while I have carried out project management duties in previous roles, I'm now looking at pursuing a sole PM role. I'm actively looking for PM jobs, as will be redundant by the end of the month. This is proving tricky, and with over 30 applications, I've only heard back from one. I guess recruiters need more experience than me.
So I think, yeah, it's not easy to with so many credentials out there and people with fancy titles as well. When I say fancy titles, like you'll have agile coaches, experts, when you have focus, because when recruiters look at a CV, I understand they just figure out they just look at certain keywords to identify if the person is from that industry. So hearing back just hearing back from a recruiter, it's difficult, Laurie, and I get that, because I've sent over so many applications, and I think I actually got my job only because I knew the right people, or I actually reached out to the right connections. So if you've done Agile, I know there are communities. There's a PSM or a Scrum community in the place where you live. It's good to be part of a certain community, because that's where you will meet professionals or people hiring and in the similar industry, and you'll know of opportunities. Something that I have seen back here as well, like we have the Agile community here, wherein there are a lot of people that connect and they share job openings, and that's wherein you can actually find people. And if you're part of these events as well, there would be hiring managers who attend these events to kind of see who's already part of the network and reach out to you there. So one thing is kind of connect with the other practitioners in the region and talk about your experience. I think that's going to help, because we can as much as send applications, but getting a response is not within our control. So
I think that's some really great advice there around building those relationships, getting yourself into what whether you call them hubs or communities, kind of. Yeah
I want to share one thing for Laurie, because I know this Slack community is global. Let me, yeah, it's Agile. I'm part of the Agile Me Dubai, but there's a global Agile community. And they do share a lot of information. As in, if you're part of these Slack channels, they also have like job openings in there. And another thing I could share is, freelance opportunities. You could possibly look at, freelance opportunities that are posted on job portals. I've got some part-time job openings to them, because you might need a Scrum Master or Agile practitioner for project specific, considering now people are looking for short-term contracts. So maybe that will give you a head start as well, trying to find some experience in this field, or getting to a full-time job.
Yeah, great, thank you. Freelance.
Any other questions? Feel free to take.
You said you kind of like fell into project management. So, but now it's like, for us, it seems to be very hard to like fall into it, like, because we don't even get responses. So do you think it's easier to get into it when you like have no experience rather than when you have transferable skills? Because there's other people who might have more the specific skills they're looking for rather than the transferable skills.
In this case, Kim, no, I think the skills that you have are solid enough to help you manage projects. Because I understand you come from a certain specialization, but it's just about relating them into the project way of working. So in terms of, it's about how you are presenting or showing your portfolio to prospective recruiters or people around, because that's kind of something, as an event manager, you have already the strong skill sets in launching, taking things to launch, completing things from an idea, like doing the entire discovery, initiation, planning, working with multiple people, risk mitigation. Like, it's just using the terminologies at time where people can relate to you when you apply for a job. Because I understand that if you apply for a specific job, there are other people as well looking for the same profile, but kind of customizing it into a more project language, or maybe would really help doing it. And in terms of the industry is not impacted, right? We know the technology industry is not impacted because of COVID. Healthcare industry is recruiting. And what I have done in my experience is looked at industries that are hiring. E-commerce has grown, and they're always looking at people who can actually manage multiple things. So to give you an example, when we look at the e-commerce industry in specific, it's not just about like the app or a website where you place orders. There's an entire workflow around it, wherein you have the logistics department, the people who need to do the fulfillment and make sure a certain delivery happens to the consumer. So there's a chain of events, or there are a lot of people working at the background behind the scenes who need the support of project managers to put things together. Because when you look at larger organizations, with the skill sets that you have of kind of coordinating different people and bridging interactions and communications, that's something will set you apart, because in the end, the fundamentals is how you can get the work done and make sure everyone is just in the same page, so that it's, things move smoothly. You're kind of facilitating it. So it would, even for example, publishing, you don't really need to know the technical expertise. There are still publishing companies, a lot of publishing companies back in there. So maybe if you focus on a certain industry, you can just see where the gap is and add value in there and present yourself as someone who's managed projects.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Shoba. Any other questions? Feel free to take yourself off mute.
So I have a question for all the event management experts.
Like it.
So, I'm so fascinated with events, and I want to see, how do you transition? If I want to transition into a event manager, what do I need to do? Like, I see the wedding industry. I see this as a huge opportunity, and I'm like, I can use my project management skills to do like some big fat Indian weddings. So please give me some tips.
Any advice for our event managers? Viviana?
Well, the first advice is maybe that's not the perfect time to do that.
Okay.
But also, as a project manager, you can become an event manager. I think you need to use very similar skills. So I don't want to mirror your advice, but follow your questions. If you love weddings, go for it. Just start connecting to people but no, I think it's quite, the advice is similar to what you gave us in a way. So yeah.
Yes, because honestly, I was thinking that it's so, with events happening virtually, we still need event managers to kind of make sure the show goes on. And it's right now I look at it that initially we were doing face-to-face events only in the region, but now we're talking globally. So at times when I'm kind of organizing, I am like, okay, I've got my venue, I've got the speaker, and got things, but it's always good to have someone who can manage the entire show, like facilitators, make sure you have your press releases, like. So I think, like, as event managers, you still have so many opportunities in there that you can take, right? Like now, because now you're not talking to a specific region, but it's across. You've got the entire world as your playground.
Yeah.
I think it goes the same. You got your current job, you have to sometimes know the right people to get in somewhere. And it can be hard. It's a really like people industry, and people pop up again like Neve, because we worked with each other 3 years ago. We are all connected. It's a small industry, but people come back. So as you said to us, go into those groups of agile project managers. It would be the same getting into event managers, get into the groups and connect with people and speak to the industry.
It's true. And one thing that has helped me is like, eventually it's about the people and how, the connections that you build with them to kind of, know about opportunities that are there. But apart from this, one thing as well, I see a lot of people, they look for a job. But what I try to do is I look at the other way. I ask them what is the problem they're facing or what are their pain points, and then show them the value that you can bring. So this has kind of helped me. And to be honest, losing a job in the pandemic is the worst thing I could say that happened to me. I've never experienced something like this before, but I was connecting with people. I constantly made an effort, and at times it's like you are really reaching out to people. I realized that I don't want to tell them I need a job. I'm like, okay, where are you facing challenges? And that's when I got in talking, and like, fine, we can, you can do this, and this is the way I can help you. So I don't want to take names, but I actually reached out, like when I filtered my industries, I was in real estate, and obviously real estate was impacted, travel was impacted, there were layoffs all over. But I looked at the industries that are hiring, right? And I went to a healthcare tech company. Because healthcare is actually looking for people, and it's about implementing some systems. And the problem they did have was that they had, because of the huge, they have a lot of processes involved in healthcare. They just wanted someone to kind of streamline or automate that process. And it just came out in the conversation because I was like, where do you see, what are your current challenges with COVID? And they were like, oh, we spend a lot of time doing this paperwork. And I was like, okay, you can automate it. So I think at times when you're talking to people, it helps to change the conversation and find out their pain points and then see where you can fit in. And people realize like, oh, I did not think about this. Oh, okay, this solution is there. Like, just to give you another example, with everyone shifting work from home, it was a challenge. Like, companies had to quickly adapt and have tools in place to connect with the rest of the people working remotely. So how do you fill this gap? Like, okay, let me throw this question to everyone. I'm a business, I'm a startup, I have 5 people, and now I don't know about technology, but I need to get people working together. So I know you have Zoom, but what else can you do to kind of streamline this, to make it easy to work from home? I'm just giving a situation, feel free to add in, like, from your experience.
Good.
So let's take the event as a launch. So this is the business, and now that with everyone working from home, how do we make sure like employees are connected and they're reporting and they're doing their task? It could be anything. Like just think about something.
So I think maybe the way I'd go at it initially is, work and home life is now merging. Lots of people with children, and schedules are going to be out and routines are going to be out. So I think my first port of call would be potentially finding a way to understand everyone's predicament, so that you can change some of the practices away from being in the office to working from home. So it might not be, you can't have that daily meeting at 8 a.m. because, people are having to sort out their kids, or at 12 p.m. when they have to feed their kids. These things that would have been fine in the office are not necessarily going to be fine working from home environment in the situation we're dealing with now. So, looking at kind of doing scheduling and team meetings in a different way might be my first thought.
True, that's true. So it's kind of like planning, right? Like trying to discover what are the challenges and how can you prepare a schedule and get people together. So it's with your experience, always think of some situations that you have and see how you can take it as a project and resolve it. So in this case, with everyone moving from work from home, no one was prepared with like kind of scheduling at different timings, because you've got people, in a different environment now. So as Jay said, it would be good to kind of analyze, understand what we're looking at, then put schedules, then communicate, and make sure that then you define your way of working and you actually are facilitating an efficient way of working together, irrespective of the location you are in. So this is a project as well. So when you're a project manager, you get thrown at all kinds of projects, right? And there's IT involved, because you have to make sure Zoom is working. In the end, you have to make sure that your IT team has the computation ready, your laptops are moved. So there are other pieces that come with it, where you have to make sure that you've looked at that all your employees have the technology, they can connect, and that goes with it. So it's more about discovering, finding, and putting things together. At first, it is not easy at all. It's obviously it's not easy, but you learn, and that's as a project manager, that's one thing you do. You keep learning. So,
I think what you said there, Shoba, I was recently on a webinar around kind of CV writing, and one of the experts showed a CV that she was really impressed around, and it was doing just that. Every bit of experience that he'd put was framed around a problem that he went in to solve. So it wasn't, I did this, I did that, and I achieved this, I did that. This was a problem that either I was employed to solve or I found when I was in the employment. This is a problem, and this is some of the statistics and some of the numbers around how I went about solving that problem. And she was like, this isn't the way usually this would stand out to me, because they are showing that there's a problem, how I solved that problem, and here are some of the results and statistics that went with that. So really in line with what they were saying about CV writing, Shoba. Thank you for that.
Yes, no, it's very true, because even with Agile, Scrum, Kanban, especially working in a software field, we always come across these terms like being a Scrum Master or knowing, how to, but these are just ways of planning work. Like knowing it is not being agile, right? Agile is like kind of being faster to deliver things. So a lot of people, they tend to think that, okay, because you know certain terms, like I can just talk about certain terms, you think you know it, but you don't actually practice it. So it's all about the value you can deliver in the end, which kind of will help you to transition to any career or take a path as a project manager and be successful in it.
Fantastic. Okay, just to finish up, we've got about a few minutes. For anybody who can come off mute, just share your one takeaway from the session. If you prefer to write it in the chat, please do feel free to. Anyone would like to kick us off? One takeaway that you're taking away from this chat? Brilliant. Viviane?
Do you use the phrase, I don't know yet? I think it's a great little piece of advice that's something really useful. And also, I mean, also when you said to use the terminology and to reframe the experience through the PM lens rather than the events lens, that's another great advice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Viviane. Kim, did I see you?
Yeah, I think it's really nice to hear that you fell into something and now you're so passionate about it. Like you were really like, oh my God, projects, I love it. And they're also different, but you kind of just like, came from a different background and fell into it. So it's nice to see that you built up that passion.
I say that about events as well, Kim. I love events too, and I try to do that with my job alongside, because I can understand it's so much that I relate to as projects, because in the end it's about actually getting a good launch and having people come for the event happy and get what they want, right? So
amazing. L'Oreal.
Yeah,
Oh, no. Yes.
I think for me it's really around the terminology of the project management and being able to just take the experience that we have and, changing the terminology from event speak to kind of project management speak and framing it as how we can solve the problem, not just we have, the training in the different systems. So just being a bit creative with how we kind of present ourselves going into, networking or job interviews. So yeah, great.
Fantastic. And we do, for anyone interested, we do have an example CV that one of our speakers was so kind to share, how she kind of reframed some of her events experience in a PM way. So if that's something you're interested in receiving, just send me a message and I can send that on to you. Laurie? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, just I really like the advice that Shoba gave regarding finding out local communities within the PM community. So that's what I'm going to do in. Hopefully that should open a few more opportunities for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for all sharing. Thank you for sharing your insights. Thank you, Shoba, for joining us today. That has been incredibly insightful. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It was so lovely to meet all of you, and good luck. Just give me a shout anytime, and hopefully our paths cross again in any of the communities. So looking forward, and yes, see you all soon. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us. Take care.